Have you ever glanced out the window on a cold winter morning and noticed a small white flower blooming quietly in the stillness? Not cherry blossoms, not tulips, not sunflowers, a plum blossom. Pause. Everything around it is bare. Not a single leaf, not a hint of green, just gray branches in a gray world, and there amid it all, one small tree blooming in perfect stillness. What did you feel in that moment? Perhaps a quiet sense of relief. Spring is coming. A gentle exhale after a long cold season. But maybe, just maybe, something else stirred inside you. Am I blooming like that? Am I allowed to? The fear of moving forward when no one else has yet. The worry that if you follow someone else's rhythm, you'll never truly move at all. The quiet confusion of not knowing whether it's okay to simply live at your own pace. So many of us carry that kind of restlessness every single day, tucked quietly beneath the surface. Today I'd like to share a story with you, a story that the plum blossom has been whispering all along. This story takes place some 2,500 years ago. The Buddha was traveling with his disciples through the countryside on an early spring morning. Rain had fallen through the night, and muddy water still pooled along the edges of the road. The air was sharp and cold, and the disciples walked with their shoulders drawn in, bracing against the chill. Then, one young disciple stopped. His name was Ananda. He stood at the roadside, eyes fixed on a single tree. In a landscape of bare, silent branches, that one tree alone was covered in white blossoms. It was a plum tree. Ananda gazed at it for a long moment, then turned to the Buddha and asked, "Teacher, why does this plum blossom now? It is still so cold. There are no leaves, no insects. No one is watching. Why does it choose to bloom?" The Buddha paused. He turned his gaze slowly toward the tree. And then with a gentle smile, he said, "Ananda, that flower is not blooming for anyone to see. It is not waiting for spring to arrive. It blooms simply because its time to bloom has come. That is all." Ananda fell silent. Its time has come, so it blooms. He repeated the words quietly inside himself. The Buddha continued, "The flower has no one to compare itself to. It does not think I am earlier than the cherry, or later, or more beautiful, or less. It simply follows what rises from within. That is the flower's honesty." Ananda's eyes grew soft with tears as he looked at the blossoms. "Then, teacher, should we also live that way?" The Buddha smiled gently and began to walk again. Ananda watched him go, then turned back, just once, to look at the plum tree. In the cold wind, the white blossoms bloomed on, quietly and without hurry. What the Buddha was trying to share with his young disciple that morning was this: live honestly, guided by the voice within you. In Buddhist teaching, there is a phrase, "be a lamp unto yourself." It sounds formal, but the meaning is beautifully simple. Rather than borrowing someone else's light to find your way, trust the light that already lives inside you. Let it illuminate the ground beneath your own feet. This was one of the last teachings the Buddha offered before he passed from this world, which tells us just how deeply he meant it. The plum blossom does not wait for someone to say, "Now bloom." It does not look to the cherry tree and think, "I'll go when you go." It does not see the bare branches around it and decide to stay bare too. It simply follows the quiet force rising from within, and blooms in that place, in that moment. That is what it means to be your own lamp. There is another teaching in Buddhism, the idea that all things arise through causes and conditions. In other words, everything appears in its most natural form when the time and circumstances are just right. The plum does not bloom in early spring by accident. It has held the coldness of winter deep inside itself, and when the temperature shifts just slightly, all of that stored energy rises and becomes a flower. The beauty of those white blossoms exists because of the cold that came before, the hardship you are carrying right now, the things that are not yet working out. Perhaps they are like the winter the plum tree holds inside itself. Difficult seasons are not wasted. They are growing something within you. That, I believe, is what the Buddha was trying to say. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others, that is the moment you are free to bloom exactly as you are. So how can we carry this lesson from the plum blossom into our everyday lives? The first is this: trust your own pace. In today's world, we are never far from someone else's highlight reel. You open your phone and see that a colleague has been promoted. An old friend has bought a house. Someone your age is already raising children, building something, thriving. And somewhere inside, a quiet voice whispers, "I'm still here. Why am I still here?" But think for a moment. Does the plum blossom panic when the cherry blooms? Does it look at the tall sunflower of summer and think, "I must be doing something wrong"? Every flower has its season. Every flower has its place. So do you. Your time does not have to match anyone else's. The second is, put down roots where you are. The plum tree grows in cold soil, in hard ground, and it blooms there, not somewhere warmer, not somewhere easier. It does not tremble and wish itself elsewhere. We all know days like this. Work that won't cooperate. Relationships that exhaust us. Moments of parenting where we lose sight of ourselves entirely. On those days, the thought rises naturally, if only things were different. There is nothing wrong with that feeling, but there is also something powerful in choosing to do one small thing, right here with what you have. That is the plum tree's way. Not escaping, simply rooting. The third is, you are allowed to bloom even when no one is watching. So many of us are tired of trying without being recognized, of giving without being seen. But the plum blossoms before dawn, in the dark, without an audience. It is not beautiful because someone is looking. It is simply beautiful. Its fragrance drifts through the cold air, whether anyone is there to breathe it in or not. The quiet kindness you offered today, that went unnoticed, it has not disappeared. It exists, somewhere, like a fragrance in this world. When the Buddha said, "Be your own lamp," he also meant you do not have to wait for someone else to shine their light on you. Before we close today, I'd like to leave you with just one thing. The plum blossom is not remarkable because it blooms before everyone else. It is not admirable because it endures the cold. It simply blooms, in its own time, in its own place, in its own way. And somehow, that quiet faithfulness is what makes those white blossoms so breathtaking. You are no different. You do not need to rush to keep up with anyone. If you haven't bloomed yet, perhaps you are still in the quiet work of putting down roots. And somewhere inside you, in the stillness of this season, something is growing. Thank you, truly, for being here with me today. If these words have settled somewhere in your heart, like a small plum blossom opening softly, then there is nothing more I could ask for. Until next time, may you walk gently through your day, at your own pace, in your own light.